The camera opens with a wide shot of a dusty runway in the heart of Africa. The sky is painted orange by the late afternoon sun, and the air carries the hum of cicadas mixed with a faint clatter of tools in a makeshift workshop nearby. Into this scene steps Daniel Carter, a U.S. driver with years of experience behind the wheel of high-performance cars, test vehicles, and futuristic prototypes. His tall frame moves with confidence, but his eyes reveal a skepticism that only someone used to impossible claims can hold. He adjusts his cap, pulls his sunglasses down, and glances at the unusual machine waiting for him at the far end of the runway. It doesn't look like any car Daniel has seen before. Sleek, angular, painted in a reflective silver coat that almost mirrors the horizon, the vehicle seems more like a concept sketch come to life than something that should be sitting on African soil, ready for a test drive. A faint whir comes from within its body as if it's alive, breathing, preparing for the challenge ahead. What makes this car extraordinary is not its design, not even its futuristic dashboard. It is the claim that has brought Daniel halfway across the world. This is a self-charging electric vehicle. No plugs. No charging stations. No overnight connections to a wall outlet. Just endless motion, powered by technology that, according to its creators, rewrites the rules of transportation forever. Daniel has tested electric vehicles in California, hybrids in Detroit, and hydrogen prototypes in Japan, but nothing has stirred such disbelief as this African invention. He approaches the car slowly, running his hand across the smooth hood. The engineers nearby exchange quiet glances. They know what he's thinking. They've seen that doubt before. But they also know what's about to happen. "All right," Daniel says, his American accent sharp against the soft cadence of the local team. "Let's see if this thing really does what you say it does." The lead engineer, a tall man named Samuel with keen eyes and the calm confidence of someone who has spent years defending his ideas, steps forward.
"You'll see for yourself, Monsieur Carter."
It doesn't need convincing words. The car will do the talking.
Daniel smirks, slides into the driver's seat, and shuts the door.
The cabin is unlike anything he's sat in before. Instead of buttons and dials, the dashboard is almost entirely glass. A single strip of light runs across the interior, glowing faint blue. The steering wheel folds inward like the wings of a bird and then expands as soon as Daniel touches it. His fingers sink into the textured surface, and the car seems to recognize his presence. Screens light up, showing not a battery percentage, but a strange symbol pulsing as if it's alive. "Where's the battery readout?" Daniel asks. "There is none," Samuel replies from outside the car, his voice clear through the intercom. "It doesn't discharge like traditional batteries. What you'll see is flow. As long as flow continues, energy continues." Daniel frowns, shakes his head slightly, and presses the start panel. The car wakes up with an almost imperceptible hum, softer than a whisper, lighter than the buzz of a refrigerator. He expects vibration, the familiar growl of combustion, or even the faint pulse of an electric motor spooling up. But there's nothing.
Juste silence.
It feels as if he's floating. He grips the wheel tighter and glances into the rearview display. The entire back view is a high-resolution feed rather than a mirror. He adjusts, shifts into drive, and lightly presses the accelerator. The car responds instantly, surging forward with the smoothness of a wave rolling over sand.
Daniel blank.
That was faster than expected. The runway stretches ahead, and the car glides forward with growing speed.
30 miles per hour.
50. 70.
The accélération doit n'était fade.
It pushes harder, smoother, as though the car has endless reserves. Daniel's eyes widen as the numbers climb. 90. 100. 120. The landscape around him becomes a blur.
What the hell? Émutère, gripping the wheel.
He glances at the dashboard, expecting some warning, some limit reached. But the pulsing flow symbol only beats steadily, calmly, as if mocking his doubts. At the end of the runway, he eases the wheel to the left, testing its cornering. The tires grip the surface with uncanny precision, no squeal, no slip, just effortless rotation. He circles back, breathing harder now, adrenaline rushing through his veins. "Feels like a sports car," Daniel says under his breath. "But where's the drain? There has to be a drain."
Samuel's voice echo again, calm and unshakable.
There is no drain. That is what we've been trying to tell the world. You can drive it for hours, days, and it will not stop. As long as conditions remain, it will sustain itself.
Daniel cède, muttering, impossible.
He presses harder on the accelerator. The car responds instantly, leaping forward.
Again, surging like a predator chasing prey.
The speedometer passes 150. He can feel the wind battering against the sleek frame, yet inside, the cabin remains still, quiet, almost eerily calm. His mind races. He thinks about all the road trips he's taken across America, the countless stops at charging stations, the waiting, the planning. He recalls the weight of power banks, the anxiety of watching battery levels drop in the middle of nowhere. And now, here in the middle of Africa, in a place he never expected to find world-changing technology, he's driving something that defies every assumption.
The sun deep away, painting the sky in red and gold.
Shadows stretch across the runway. Daniel slows the car, bringing it to a gentle halt at the far end. He sits there for a moment, his chest heaving, his mind wrestling with disbelief. Finally, he opens the door and steps out, facing Samuel and the small group of engineers waiting nearby. "You're telling me this thing doesn't stop," he says. Samuel smiles faintly. "It doesn't stop. That's the future." Daniel wipes his forehead, pacing in slow circles. He doesn't want to believe it, but he has just experienced something he can't explain. He looks back at the car, its sleek frame glowing in the fading sunlight, the faint blue light of its interior still pulsing gently.
This could change everything, Daniel whisper. Samuel no.
That's why we built it. Daniel steps closer again, this time with less arrogance, more curiosity.
Tell me how it works.
Samuel glances at his team, then back at Daniel. It's a system that uses motion, vibration, and a layered conversion process. As long as you're moving, the car feeds itself. Think of it as harvesting energy that was always there, but never captured efficiently before. Daniel stares at him, struggling to process. So you're saying the car charges itself just by existing, by being in motion? Exactly.
Silence en in the air for a moment, broken only by the distant sound of wind over grass.
Daniel chuckles, shaking his head. I don't know whether to call this genius or witchcraft.
Samuel smiles again, softer this time. Call it the beginning.
The scene fades as Daniel looks back at the car, caught between disbelief and wonder, unaware that the most unbelievable part of his journey hasn't even happened yet. The next morning arrives with a sky painted in soft lavender hues, the faint call of birds echoing through the valley. Daniel wakes early in his small guest house, his mind still restless from the night before. He had replayed every second of yesterday's drive over and over, searching for a flaw, a glitch, some hidden trick. But each time, the memory of that relentless acceleration, that endless stream of power, pushed away his doubts. Pulling on his jacket, he steps outside, greeted by the sound of voices from the workshop nearby. The car is already waiting, gleaming in the morning light, its silver surface reflecting the sky like a mirror. Samuel and his team are checking systems, tapping on holographic screens projected from thin panels around the car. Daniel approaches, still rubbing sleep from his eyes. I hope you guys got some coffee, because today I want to push this thing harder. Samuel smiles knowingly. We expected that. You're not the first driver to test it, but you might be the first to take it beyond the runway.
Daniel smirks.
Good. I want to see how it handles real roads, real conditions. Within minutes, Daniel is back in the driver's seat. The cabin greets him with the same pulsing glow, as though the car is alive and welcoming him. He grips the wheel, takes a deep breath, and sets off. The route begins with a stretch of paved highway that snakes out of the city and toward the open countryside. At first, everything feels familiar. Smooth acceleration, tight steering, quiet operation. But as he merges with regular traffic, Daniel notices something else. People in older vehicles, motorcycles, minibuses, trucks weighed down with cargo, all turn to stare at his car. Children point from the roadside, their eyes wide. Even drivers of modern SUVs slow down, curious about the futuristic machine gliding past them with no engine sound at all. Daniel can't help but grin. You've got half the city watching me, he says into the calm.
Samuel's voice comes through the intercom.
They know what this is. They've seen it in testing, but to them, it's still something out of science fiction. To see someone from the US driving it, that makes it even more unreal. The highway stretches on, leading toward a rising line of hills in the distance. Daniel presses the accelerator, and the car responds instantly, overtaking vehicles effortlessly. The smoothness of its motion is uncanny. No jerks, no delays, just pure fluid speed. But Daniel isn't satisfied. "Highway's too easy," he mutters. At the next turn, he veers off onto a rougher road leading toward the hills. Dust kicks up behind him as the pavement disappears, replaced by gravel and rock. The car doesn't flinch. Its suspension adapts instantly, adjusting to every bump and dip. Daniel can feel the system recalibrating beneath him, keeping the cabin stable even as the terrain grows harsher. Minutes later, he finds himself climbing steep winding paths carved into the hillside. Loose stones crunch beneath the tires, but the car powers upward without hesitation. At one point, a sharp curve appears with no guardrail, the valley yawning below. Daniel tightens his grip, heart pounding, but the car takes the turn with precision, hugging the edge like it was designed for danger. "This shouldn't be possible," Daniel whispers, more to himself than anyone else. At the summit, he stops the car and steps out, breathing hard. The view spreads before him, rolling hills, villages scattered like dots, and far beyond, the shimmering horizon of endless plains. Samuel and the others arrive moments later in a support vehicle, climbing out with smiles.
"You see now."
Samuel says, walking up beside him. "It's not just theory. It works everywhere." Daniel shakes his head, still in disbelief. "I've driven vehicles in California that couldn't handle roads half this rough. And yet, this thing just eats it all up." Samuel places a hand on the hood of the EV, as though it were a living creature. It adapts because it's alive, in a way. Not alive like us, but alive with energy. That's the key. They continue their journey into the countryside. As they pass through small villages, people gather to watch. Farmers stop their work, children run alongside the road, and elders lean on canes, staring in wonder. Daniel notices how their eyes follow not just the car, but him, the outsider, the American behind the wheel of something born in Africa. For the first time, he feels the weight of it. This isn't just a test drive. It's a moment of history, unfolding in front of people who will tell their children and grandchildren about the day they saw a foreigner drive the impossible car. Hours pass, yet the car shows no signs of fatigue. No warning lights, no drop in power, no heat issues. Daniel pushes it harder, racing along straight stretches, braking sharply, climbing steep inclines, splashing through shallow streams. Each time, the car responds flawlessly, as if daring him to test its limits. By late afternoon, they reach a remote plateau where the ground is cracked and dry, the air shimmering with heat. Samuel suggests a rest, but Daniel insists on continuing.
"No.
"I want to see if it fails under the worst conditions." He drives across the plateau, dust clouds billowing behind him. The heat is intense, but inside the cabin, the temperature remains perfectly cool. Daniel checks the dashboard, expecting some sign of strain, but the flow symbol pulses calmly as ever. Finally, he brings the car to a halt in the middle of the barren land. He steps out, his boots crunching on the dry earth, and stares at the horizon. The sun is beginning to set, casting long shadows across the plateau. He turns back to the car, its silver body glowing faintly in the fading light. "This isn't just a vehicle," Daniel says softly. "It's something else. Something we're not ready for." Samuel approaches, his face serious now. "That's what we've been trying to tell the world. Some think it's too soon. Some think it's too dangerous. But the truth is, it's already here. And once people know it works, nothing will ever be the same." Daniel looks at him, his skepticism finally giving way to awe. "You're not just building cars.
You're rewriting the future." Samuel no slowly.
And the ending will be more unbelievable than you can imagine." Daniel doesn't respond. He simply looks back at the car, the impossible machine that has carried him across cities, hills, and barren land without once asking for fuel or charge. And for the first time in his career as a driver, he feels small, standing in the shadow of something far greater than himself. The camera lingers on Daniel's face, the glow of the car behind him, and the darkening sky above.
The sense of something monumental, something world-changing, en heavy in the air.
And though Daniel doesn't know it yet, his journey is only just beginning.